I'm IMTIAZ POPAT and welcome back to Access TV and happy Black History Month. Molly?
Thank you, IMTIAZ, and happy Hobiye. It is in New Year's for Indigenous people as well. It's also nearing the end of the Year of the Monkey and moving over to the Year of the Rooster. We're going to start this episode with deep breaths and the stories that will update you on housing and social justice.
Yeah, and Yana Kalanzi will be here talking with Jean Swanson and Lama Molango about housing at the Carnegie Action Project. And
Anushka Azadi, who is a frontline legal advocate on issues that matter and link Indigenous people with the land and policy. She's in to speak with Gennardji O'Sullivan about the Mount Poly mine disaster and whether we've cleaned up enough, as well as fish farms and where we sit with the Truth and Reconciliation and Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's recommendations.
And there's Gary Over.
Yeah, Gary, of course, and Eugene CRAIN are going to be having a conversation with a gallery owner and curator, SVETLANA FOUKS, who has been curator for the Indigenous Coastal Peoples Gallery for 25 years, is here. It's very interesting to see how empowering it is for entrepreneurs and artists to put their minds together.
But we start with Barbara KMIEC talking to the Tzu Chi Institute about the Lunar New Year.
Hi, I'm here today with ANITA KWONG and AGNES Lee of the Tzu Chi Foundation. The Tzu Chi Foundation has offices around the globe and has provided assistance to people in more than 91 countries worldwide, including right here in Vancouver. So ANITA and AGNES are commissioners doing good work with the foundation, and you're here today with us to talk with me about the Lunar New Year. So welcome.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! 新年快乐!
新年快乐! So I understand this year is, with Chinese astrology, is the Year of the Rooster, and this happens only once every 12 years. Can you tell us what you think the rooster has in store for us this year?
Oh, the rooster actually is the 10th zodiac of the 12-year cycle. So the roosters, it does represent something. So, Agnes?
Yeah, the rooster does represent timekeeping and being in action, being active.
Right. Yeah. I think the Tzu Chi Foundation is all about action, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, Buddhism in action, that's what we do.
Right.
And it is timely.
Sorry?
Timely.
And timely. So I think your organization is timely for the needs of people in Vancouver and around the world. And I understand that, what other things that does the rooster bring to mind? Are there other things that...
Food.
Food. And I see you brought a wealth of items with you today. Well, actually, it's the Lunar New Year that took place on January the 28th of this year, and there's 15 days of celebration. And I understand that families travel long distances to get together to celebrate the spirit of Thanksgiving and blessings. Can you speak to us more about that?
Well, for the New Year's Eve dinner, they have different selections. So it's a combination of either 8 courses or 9 courses or 10 courses.
Oh, okay. And what is the significance of the numbers? Is there a meaning in the tradition?
Yeah, the number 8 is actually mean wealth, and the number 9 means longevity, and the number 10 is a perfect number for Chinese people.
Ah, perfection.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, there's a perfection here with having brought this lovely array of foods to share with us, to show our viewers. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've brought today?
There is a special dishes everyone loves about it is the dumpling, because it represents the treasure, like something the ancient treasures.
Yes.
So everyone wants to have treasures. So during the courses, they will have dumpling. And actually, if it lasts the 15 days.
Sorry,
They eat it almost every day.
Almost every day.
Because it's money.
Right. And I noticed that you have some cookies, I think, in the same shape.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, also we would like to introduce this as a sticky rice cake.
Yes.
And it represents that you're getting higher and higher promotion every year. I think everybody likes that, right? So you have to eat that for the New Year too.
Okay, lovely. And yes?
Towards the end of the 15 days, we have the rice balls because this is the end of the day. So at the end of the celebrations, so they will have something really sweet.
Okay, and that's the Lantern Festival.
The Lantern Festival.
And actually, for our viewers, if you want to just simply Google the Lunar Fest, you can find out what's happening in your neighborhood to celebrate the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year Spring Festival. So it's been really. We've also got some red envelopes here, I think, and that's.
This is the very important part for the kids because it is passed down from the older generation to the younger generation. So they will put money in it and to give it to the kids, and the kids they will give they will say good words and some kind of blessings to the seniors, and the senior also will give them the money, and they will put it under the pillow, and that means they bury the treasure, and it is good for all year round.
Good fortune. And the Tzu Chi Foundation is really about giving and about giving back to the community, so abundance not only, I think, on New Year's Day, but throughout the year.
Exactly. Our master Jane Yan, she teaches us to say good words every day instead of just for the New Year. So this is actually one of the Jinsi aphorism that our master said. That's all the wisdom words from her. So she wants us to, treat every day like New Year's Day.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for coming out and sharing the traditions of the Lunar New Year with us. And just want to say thank you. And if people want to learn more about your foundation, they can go to
www.tzuchi.ca, tzuchi.ca.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. And everyone, Happy New Year.
新年快乐！
新年快乐!
Hi, welcome back to Access TV. This is IMTIAZ POPAT, and with me is Peter Finch with the Vancouver Civic Railway, also known as Friends of the Olympic Line. Now, you're trying to bring back the streetcar to Vancouver. As many know, Toronto has a streetcar, Vancouver doesn't. And because the big car companies colluded many years ago to tear up our streetcar tracks here in Vancouver so they can sell cars and more gasoline.
Yes, in Canada it was one person that did all of that. Vancouver was designed as a streetcar city, and we're not proposing to bring back an entire system. We're looking at a single line.
Well, it's a start.
It's a start, yes. But we don't even talk about other corridors because we want to look at something tangible, something that can be done.
Now, you had a sort of a trial run during the Olympics.
Yes, well, that wasn't us. That was Bombardier.
Right.
And they did an excellent job. They brought two Belgian streetcars across, and I had the pleasure of driving one of those, and it was a blast. And everybody that rode those cars was positive about it. And
so tell us what your project is about.
the project is to finish the streetcar line from Granville Island back to Science World. There's a right-of-way for the whole length. Most of the work is actually done. And it's so close to completion that we figure that with rolling stock equipment, repairs, it can all be done for about $15 million, which is a staggeringly low price. That's not even the cost of 1 kilometer of track. So we could get this done.
Now, what about the streetcars? What type of streetcars are you proposing?
We are proposing brand new high-tech vehicles, but there's a little twist to it. They will look exactly like actual Vancouver designs of streetcars that Vancouver was actually known for of 100 years ago. So the home-crafted streetcars, of which there were many, none of them survived. So we're thinking, well, look, the cost is less than a brand new low-floor streetcar, and we can get 3 of them for the cost of 1 or 2 low-floor streetcars. So why don't we do this? Gomeco Trolley Company builds beautiful replicas, and the experts can't tell them apart from the real thing. So it won't look cartoonish, it won't look foolish at all. People will get the experience of riding in a vehicle that looks like and feels like a real historic vehicle.
And how do you plan to finance this?
We'd like the city to actually step up, and we'd like to see the federal government, because those are the two beneficiaries. If we're going from Granville Island to Science World, obviously both the city and the federal government stand to gain a great deal. It would pay itself back very, very quickly, and although we're certainly interested in looking at private investment, we think it would be more fair to have it as a revenue stream for the city.
So Granville Island to Science World, do you plan to go beyond that at any point, or?
We could go into Chinatown if there was the will to do it, but rather than taking the big project approach, we'd rather see it prove itself and say, okay, look, people will demand that it goes farther. Well, then it'll go farther.
So when do you hope to see this happen?
It could happen at any time, because the moment City Hall says yes and gives us the budget to work with, and well, it could be 18 months, as early as 18 months, to complete this 3 streetcars and all the construction.
Great.
So,
well, Peter, thank you so much for talking about this. We're looking forward to this happen in our city.
Yes, it's exciting. We're getting a lot of traffic from the Granville Island 2040 presentations. People are talking about this and saying, why isn't it happening? So a lot of people have looked at our Facebook page, and it's moved us fast enough that we have to get a website up, which is happening right now.
Great. So I've been talking to Peter Finch with the Vancouver Civic Railway. Up next is Patricia Kelly with Food for Thought.
What do you know about fermentation? Fermentation is a traditional method for preserving and creating food and beverage. But there's no good reason to throw away the traditional method in modern times. Lacto-fermented foods are a good source of probiotic bacteria to balance the bacteria in our intestines, helping us to digest our food, absorb the nutrients, and eliminate waste. Fermented foods are everywhere, from yogurt to sauerkraut, even kombucha and tea. But there may be one that you haven't heard of, and that's SHIO KOJI. TONAMI van den Driesen is the owner of VANKOJI Foods, and she's here today to tell us about SHIO KOJI.
Thank you very much, Patricia.
Can you tell us a little bit about SHIO KOJI?
Okay, SHIO KOJI is a very traditional Japanese seasoning, and then we had this one for a long time ago. Once in a time we lost this recipe, and a lady who makes koji, which is starter for the miso paste and sake and soya sauce, she brought it back, that traditional seasoning, which is SHIO KOJI's recipe, back to new generation again.
So what do you use the SHIO KOJI for?
So SHIO KOJI used for any type of the cooking.
Okay.
So substitute is salt. So for substitute is salt, you can reduce almost 50% of sodium compared to regular salt. It also brings out umami, which is a tasty flavor, and then you can use for the meat tenderize and the food enhancer.
Okay, I think I read on your website that you can substitute 2 teaspoons of the koji for 1 teaspoon of salt. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And you can use this for any type of meat, right? Like chicken or beef or fish.
Yes, pork or anything you like, And also you can use for vegetables as well.
How would you use it with vegetables?
So usually vegetable you can use for the soft tenderizer.
Oh, really?
Also food enhancer as well. So some leaf vegetable like a cabbage or spinach, you don't really need to do meat tenderizing.
Right.
But you can use for this product, you can enhance the flavor, and amino acidic brings out sweetness and then tasty flavor out of the ingredients.
Okay. Okay. I think when North Americans think of tenderizing or a marinade, we would either marinate the meat before we cook it, or maybe we would use it like a salad dressing, something we could pour onto food we don't cook. So are there foods that we don't cook that we could use this with?
Oh, certainly, yes. If you use as a raw and cooked, you can still keep it active enzyme.
Right.
So you can enhance to the digestive one of ingredients to your body.
Right, absolutely. So what are some of the other foods then that we could use, the foods we don't cook? What are some examples maybe that?
I use sometimes
Hummus.
like a chickpea mix and guacamole.
And guacamole.
Guacamole and stuff. And salsa, of course. Yes, you can use as a dip sauce.
Excellent.
Yeah, substitute the salt.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you also put it on salads?
Oh yes, salad dressing. You can use salad dressing as well.
Okay.
So any type of the salad dressing you use salt. You substitute salt to this shio-koji, and you can make a dressing.
Okay, well that's very interesting. Well, if a person wanted to get your product, where could they best get more information?
Oh, I use for the I attended usually events. So you can find out my events from Facebook, VANKOJI Foods. Yeah.
Okay, VANKOJI Foods
Yes.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, well thank you very much, Tonami.
Thank you very much.
For sharing your information about shio-koji. Very interesting and very delicious, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on Access TV. And next up, the Indigenous Entertainment Report.
Hi, this is Indigenous Entertainment on Access Community TV, and my name is Eugene CRAIN. 1491, the untold story of the Americas before Columbus. Please check this film out from Arrow Productions. It's how the world views Indigenous history. The series will air later on APTN. Check out the short promo trailer on Facebook. And please check out Hobiye on February 3rd and 4th at the P&E Forum, 2901 East Hastings Street, celebrating the Niska's New Year by sharing the culture through stories, songs, and dances. DJ Shub, formerly of the Tribe Called Red, is performing at the Biltmore Cabaret Saturday, February 4th, 10 till 2 p.m. And check out the link below where you can buy tickets. Canadian First Nations Art Directory of Artists, events, links, and news. This is a Facebook page around art, and there are links to the websites. So if you're looking to support local artists, please check out this website. Ellen Neal, the first totem pole carver, the first woman carver, January 14th, January 21st, 10 to 4, University of Victoria at the Legacy Art Galleries. Please check that out. Next, I'd like to talk to you about the 2017 Coastal First Nations Dance Festival. You must check this out. I checked it out last year, and I was surprised there wasn't more people there. So February 28th to March 5th, 10 to 4 at the UBC Museum of Anthropology, Vancouver, BC. The festival is a celebration of the stories, songs, and dances of the Indigenous people of the northwest coast of North America. The festival presents the rich cultural traditions practiced by dance artists from British Columbia, the Yukon, Alaska, and Washington states, as well as guest international artists, and demonstrates that these practices are very much alive. Next, I'd like to tell you about Res Blues, Fairview Pub, February 4th, 2017, $15 cover. This is an event to raise money for Murray Porter's album. Murray Porter and his band will be playing. Guest is Delana Gail Bowen, and opening Owen. And congratulations to Jules Kosachin for being the Aboriginal storyteller in residence. And now, here's to Gary.
I'm sitting here today with the owner of Coastal Peoples Gallery from Gastown in Vancouver, BC. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
So I see that you brought an art piece today. Who's the artist?
The artist here is Joseph Campbell, and he is from the Coast Salish Nation, from here on the west coast, on the southern west coast of British Columbia. And the one unique element about him is that he still continues to create bentwood boxes that are culturally traditional to the First Nations people of this area. And what is unique about this box is that it's actually steam bent out of one plank of wood in the center to form 4 sides.
So steam bent actually means they do a groove in the back of the wood.
That's
when it's
right.
Straight, and then they steam it and they bend it so it has no seam on the outside, and there's the seam on the inside.
So it's joined in one spot and steam bent.
And they did this traditionally, correct?
This is traditionally done, and historically, these particular boxes were of much larger scale, and they were used for ceremonial purposes, for storage purposes. They held regalia, they held food, and they were highly regarded and also used for seating during ceremonies when they were in large scale.
Yeah, a seat, right? Like
a seat.
Yeah, so
they would
sit on, right?
They would sit right on the lid and use them as seating, so they were multifunctional.
Yeah. So you've been around for what, 30 years?
20, going on 21 years.
Oh, is it 21?
Yeah.
I thought it was longer than
We
that.
started in Yaletown, and now we are in Gastown.
Yeah, and so in the next coming months, you're making a big move, aren't you?
Well, we are, because we consolidated 2 galleries into one, into our Gastown location, and we find the need that we need to increase our square footage to showcase better the art collection that we have. So we are moving in spring.
Yeah.
And we're super excited about it. We're going to have 2 levels of wonderful art showcased in our gallery, and we represent both First Nations artists from the West Coast as well as the Inuit from the Canadian Arctic.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of the collection from the Inuit, and it's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
And having a larger space will, able to enhance a lot of the beautiful art pieces that you.
Well, it will. It will add, I think, a great deal of integrity to each piece, so that you'll be able to visualize it in its own right, with a little bit more space than what we have right now.
So if somebody wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way of getting in contact with you?
Well, we have an excellent website, coastalpeoples.com, and also you could, give us a call. We love to welcome everyone and pay us a visit in person in the gallery. We're open 10 to 6, 7 days a week. And all of us are really open to speaking about the collection, about the artists that we represent, and are all very knowledgeable about the artworks that we showcase.
Yeah, and I'd like to publicly thank you very much for supporting us Native artists in the number of years that you've were there to support a lot of us artists that are out there, and that's I think what you do is a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you for the kind words. It's a pleasure.
Every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock on Vancouver Co-op Radio, you can hear the Urban Renewal Project. It's what keeps Co-op Radio hip and current. And DJ Denise is here to speak with IMTIAZ POPAT about everything hip and hop. Next up.
Hi, this is IMTIAZ POPAT, and I'm back. It's Black History Month, and I'm here talking to Denise Fraser, aka DJ Denise, who is a community broadcaster. She's been here with Access TV for a little while, and you've mostly been working with Urban Renewal Project, URP, on Co-op Radio, and you just celebrated your 4th anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was 4 years. We celebrated at the Fox Cabaret just recently. December 8th actually was the big launch. Did lots of production and preparation before the event. We had the event listed in the Georgia Strait and lots of word of mouth.
Yeah, I do the show around just after you, so I know you've been doing a lot of community building and bringing artists together with Urban Renewal Project, and you did that at the celebration at the Fox as well. Amazing artists and so on. How did you get involved with the Urban Renewal Project?
Yeah, actually, CARNEGIE, who's been on Access TV multiple times, just let me know that there was an opening at Co-op Radio radio. So she'd actually had me on her When Spirit Whispers radio show also, just to kind of preview and get me excited and ready to have my own show and host my own show. So when the opening came, I was ready, and I already had my hands right in the community.
Well, you really brought up the show, and you're really bringing people together. What do you plan for Black History Month?
Yes, I have quite a few artists coming in to the studio, as well as across Canada. I have a huge contingency across Canada as well. So I have some Toronto artists that will be calling in, and we, facilitate playing their music online, and also, making sure that people in Vancouver can know that there are other Canadian artists that are up and coming around around Canada.
Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock on CFR 100.5 FM.
Till midnight.
Yeah. To midnight, and then I'm on right after on Dynamics, and you can also listen online at coopradio.org.
Yes, Urban Renewal Project. Yeah.
And you're also a co-host on Queer FM on CITR at UBC Radio.
Yes, yeah, and that show as well is all about, I like music is my focus. I love music and also community-based events. So what I do is I mostly talk about LGBT news and events that are in the city. So just like Outlook TV, we have artists come in, or even event producers and event promoters come in and talk about what they're doing in the city.
Yeah, and you also started with Outlook TV recently as a reporter.
Yeah, yes.
So you go out to the community.
Yeah, it's really fun. We do a lot of event-based stuff. So we take the camera out in the field, and I've been doing some reporting. So I'm really learning. Well, I'm learning how to be out in the field with a camera and being reporting at the same time, because on the radio you get the studio time and you get to sit in studio and prepare most of your production stuff at home.
And you can see Outlook TV right here on Shaw Cable 4.
Yes.
Right. Now you've been DJing a lot in the community as well. You just were at Whistler Pride, and you're doing a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, and my website, if you want to check it out, is VancouverDeniseDJ.com. So I have my own sound, my lighting, everything. I've been doing multiple events around the city, so you can find me all doing all types of events, hip hop events, launching, stores and websites, stuff like that. So there's lots of stuff you can find me at in the city.
So if you're looking for a good DJ, you can contact DJ Denise. You have equipment as well?
Yes, I do. I have my own equipment. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there anything else coming up that you're excited about?
Yes, the Vancouver Rugby Club is celebrating 20 years, a women's rugby club. They're going to be celebrating at the Heritage Hall in Vancouver, so I'll be out there with my music and enjoying.
Great. Well, Denise, it's been so great talking to you. So glad to be working with you. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you.
And we'll see you around.
Yes.
My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Hello everyone, welcome to my health segment on Access Television. Today we have 2 lovely ladies, Lindamarie and Elisa, at the studio talking about the breath experience. So what is the breath experience, and what makes it different from other breathing techniques and approaches? Let's start with that.
Okay, so breath experience is a practice of allowing the sensation of the movement of breath to be what you become present to. So most practices have a doing aspect to a breath, a counting, a pulling, a pushing. And this is basically the breath that's always there. And we're not looking at our breathing and trying to decide how it should be and managing it. We're becoming present to the breath that is always with us. And we're becoming present to the sensation of that in the movement of breath in our whole body, as opposed to what we think it's supposed to be.
And is it like a meditation? How is it different from meditation?
It's different from meditation. You can use it in conjunction with meditation. It goes along with the meditation, but the difference with allowing the breath and the sensation of the breath throughout your body and allowing it to come and go on its own is that you are present also to the outer here, and also to the inner, rather than in some meditations just being inner.
So instead of blocking your thoughts or blocking those judgments,
yes,
it's just being open to outside and the inner life.
So if you were in a meditation practice, the idea is to let the thoughts come and go.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happens in this at the same time, but you're also in your life. You are present to the world around you. You are present to how your own breath is experienced so that everyone else can have their sensation of their breath. So for me, it brought a real sense of ease and a lack of worry about what other people thought of me or what I think I should do, as opposed to a sense of, I was always very, very comfortable, started to become really comfortable in myself. I was always a sense of presence and awareness of I'm here. Yeah, as opposed to worrying about what you're thinking about me.
That's beautiful. So that's a personal experience that you've had. What are some other benefits that you both have noticed as breath practitioners using this specific technique?
I think the most, what I hear the most from my students is that it helps you with anxiety. So with the breath, when you're present to the breath, well, just as Elisa said, that she's not worried about what you're thinking of her, and so therefore you're not anxious. So anxiety, stress, it's amazing for stress. My personal experience, stress.
And how can the everyday person incorporate this into their own lifestyle?
It's a really simple practice. Again, you don't go away to do it. It can be as simple as if you bring your hands anywhere onto your body of breath. So, and it can be, you can move them around, and you just, again, it's about taking time. So instead of looking for something and trying to track it, I'm just being there with my hands, and I'm present in my hands, and I'm present in my body, and I just wait and experience how the breath moves in me. So when a breath inhale comes, I can feel how the body expands a little bit, and when the exhale comes, I can feel how it releases, and then there's these spaces in between. So it's not just my breathing, it's all the cycle of your whole breath. So there's this space at the end of your exhale before the next breath comes. And so you're shifting from thinking about something to actually into the sensation that's here.
It sounds so simple.
It is very simple, which is what makes it somewhat hard, right? Because you can't do it. You have to slow down, you have to listen, you wait. There's other components to it of a sense of being carried by the earth as opposed to trying to ground yourself onto the earth, of opening the peripherals so that your eyes are gently receiving the world around you. And all of this brings a sensation of that you're whole, that you are in the whole of yourself as opposed to all the little components like your head thinking and your legs walking, and that you get a sense of, oh, it's all of me.
So it's like a natural high.
It is. It actually is.
Because you know the endorphins, when you go for a run, those endorphins kick in and you feel as though you're one with the world. You feel as though... And I mean, how many times do we do this?
How do you mean, how many times?
How many times do we do this approach?
You can do this any time in your day. You can be sitting at the park, you can be taking a few moments in your lunch, and you just want to become present to where you are. The world around you, the sensation of the earth under your feet, the sense of movement that's in your body. And it allows you to shift from thinking and being in your head to being a part of the whole of you. And it is a sense of well-being and peace and less stress.
There's a component of mindfulness involved.
Yes, definitely.
Isn't it? And how did this approach begin? Who came up with this approach?
This is a
history.
The bit of the history. The work is a woman named Ilse Middendorf. She passed away in 2009, I think, at the age of 98, still practicing. It's her work. It came out of her life. She was invited with our teacher, Jörg Ruffler, who was, she was his mentor, to the States, to Berkeley, California, and to introduce it to the States. And he's been there ever since. And I went down in 2008 because I teach singing to actors, so I was looking for a way that the breath had to be easier. There was just too much work involved.
So this technique is for everyone?
Yes.
Everyone.
It's not limited to anyone?
No.
They can do it anywhere, anytime, and as many times as possible, the more the benefits, correct?
Well, as a mindfulness practice, it's that it becomes a part of your life. It becomes a part of your moment-to-moment day.
Well, it's funny because we breathe, and it is a part of our life. We just breathe automatically. It's what keeps us alive. So I think this technique is just using that and enhancing on that different approach.
Yes, it is, because it's going back to the way you breathed when you were a healthy baby. Baby's breath comes and goes on its own and doesn't stop, and it's never the same. It's always moving, always moving. And that's really the way we need to be breathing now. We need to allow ourselves to have that lack of control of the breath.
There's a certain amount of letting go and trust involved.
Yeah. It's all about letting go. No doing, allowing.
And this process helps you trust.
It builds trust.
Builds trust.
So
it's very important with everything going on in the world today. Oh my goodness, so much more I want to ask. You have some workshops coming up.
Yes, we do.
Please do mention those before we leave.
On February 3rd, 4th, and 5th, actually, our teacher is coming into Vancouver. His name is Jörg Roffler, and he's going to be doing a workshop called Breath and Relationship.
Wow.
So that really deals with own breath, other breath. How am I in relationship to others? And we also have classes.
Yes, we have ongoing classes that Elisa teaches Mondays and Saturdays.
Perfect.
And I teach on Tuesday nights, and then we have another practitioner that teaches on Wednesday night. And then we also have a training. This is our big project.
And how long is the training?
The training is 3+ years.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's to become a certified breath practitioner.
As we are.
Yeah.
So if you want to heal your life, if you want to heal your relationships, do check out the website and take some of the workshops. Absolute pleasure having you at the studios.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing some of your knowledge about this technique with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We've got to bring you back.
Okay.
Welcome to 2017 on Access Television. I'm CARNEGIE O'Sullivan, your host for today, with co-host Anushka Adzadi. And today we are going to recap 2016 as was described by Grand Chief Stuart Phillip of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs as being Battle BC. What has made British Columbia Battle BC, Anushka?
So I think Battle BC is a really good way to describe the current situation, as well as the situation in so-called BC for like the past few years. We've seen a lot of uptake on Indigenous resistance movements, as well as physical encampments and sites where Indigenous resistance has been really flourishing. And I think in that specific context, when Grand Chief Stuart Phillip was talking about Battle BC, I think he was talking about Site C dams specifically.
That's right.
But there are a host of projects, resource extractive projects, and with Trudeau continuing to approve more of these kinds of projects, I think it's going to continue to be sort of a good way to describe this area as Battle BC.
Well, since you've described, how the Liberal government is continuing on with these major projects and even to the point of approval, it really doesn't give me a lot of faith in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. And this year, the key words have been, within the struggle, have been the Royal Proclamation. We need to apply the United Nations Declaration. We have the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations. We also have had recent recommendations on the missing and murdered women and that inquiry. Right now, as a First Nations woman, I'm not feeling it. I feel like there's a hole in the bucket and that we need to fix it, dear Liza.
Yeah. No, and I think you're absolutely right to feel that way, especially with all the evidence that we have presented in front of us about how these recommendations go on, how generally they're not applied by provincial or federal governments, and how even if they're not applied, they're generally flaunted even, by some of these governments as well. And so, like, when you look at, recommendations that came out of the missing and murdered inquiry that happened here provincially, first of all, the whole process was called out repeatedly by the lawyers involved, by families involved as well, as being an incompetent process. But then after the fact as well, all the recommendations that were given often sound really good on paper, but have yet to be applied. And this is sort of a continuing trend, I feel, in a lot of these kinds of reports, especially around Indigenous issues in so-called Canada, is that we have, consistent reports coming out, after the Oka crisis, after Ipperwash happened, through the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and they're great. The recommendations sound really good. If they were applied in full, it would be quite a revolutionary change in the way we see each other, in the way we engage in politics. But generally that hasn't and continues not to happen.
Well, if many of these recommendations were applied, it would end homelessness.
Yes.
It would end poverty. It would create equality amongst other Canadians and First Nations people. I mean, the list goes on and on. Why not apply them?
Yeah.
Okay, and so Site C Dam, I mean, damn that dam. What is going on with it?
Yeah, Site C Dam is maybe one of the most contentious projects on the docket here in so-called BC, Battle of BC. And has been contentious for quite a period of time. I think some folks, when they're sort of engaging with what Site C is today, don't realize that this has been going on, this issue has been going on for decades, and has been fought legally, has been fought on the ground, has been fought by settler folks, as well as the Indigenous nations that are in the area. Environmentalists. Yeah, exactly. And so there's quite a list of like scientists even, and people who are coming out to say that the flooding of this area, so it's about 80 or 83 kilometers, I think, that they're planning on flooding in this valley. And this is a really fertile valley. A lot of BC's foods are grown here. And that's nothing to say of the spiritual, cultural significance to the West Moberly and Prophet First Nations in that area as well. And so last year, there was a series of actions around Site C as well. So locally around the area, there was an encampment that was set up and then taken down because of a court order.
A 19-day fast.
That's right, and a 19-day hunger strike. That's right, which was preceded by a series of like hunger fasts as well, so day-long fasts to bring awareness to the issue. So Site C, continues to be a real thorn in our side, because I think that there's very little evidence that this kind of power and electricity is actually needed, and the project seems to be like a make work sort of a project for the BC government.
And of course, Christy Clark wants to push it to the point of no return.
Yeah.
I hope we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But we should move on. We have less than half time.
Yeah.
What else has been going on here?
So I have a huge list, but let's go through the list. So Lilu Island was also a major point of contention this year. They are entering now, I think, the second year of their encampment, and originally had set up the encampment when they had found out last minute. So community members who supposedly were consulted, the government goes around saying we've consulted these First Nations, but most community members didn't really know that Site C, that Lilu Island was actually going to happen, that there was going to be an LNG plant built. And so last minute, when community members did find out, what ended up happening is they set up, it was 5 women from the community, some Shan women. Yeah, always the women, that set up an encampment. And that encampment now has been going strong. And the whole idea around that too was these are fertile grounds for juvenile salmon. So this is a very, very ecologically important area. again, also a very spiritually and culturally important area to the Tsimshian Nation. And despite this continued assault on their rights, they've stood strong for quite a period of time. There's a great film that came out last year called A Last Stand for Lilu that has been toured actually all over the world.
And has raised funds for the struggle.
And has raised funds to continue the encampment. And I think what's been really powerful about these encampments is that the occupation of physical space.
Really?
So taking up and reoccupying these spaces has been really important for these communities.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, so also we had fish farms last year, so a lot of issues around fish farms, right? House It has been fighting fish farms in their area for quite a period of time. They have 16 fish farms in their communities. And then the Zawadenuk this year as well went ahead and evicted, point blank evicted, fish farms from their territory. And in their territory, which is also close to a House It, they have the largest concentration of fish farms in all of BC. And fish farms are inherently destructive, especially the ones put in
Well,
in the
now
ocean.
that you've mentioned the fish farms for like the second time, we know that they gave an eviction notice to Cermak and Marine Harvest. If you would like to join these people against fish farms, you can contact Hereditary Chief Willie Moon at 974-2000, or you can contact him at 250-9743-3623. Anushka, any other contact numbers? We need a central number to call for all of these issues.
We definitely do. So you can call this number here. It's 403-999-9220. And through that number, what you can do is maybe help with the distribution. So a lot of folks don't have access to all the different community pages or numbers or whatever. And this can be a central number then to give a call and see if there are specific areas you're interested in or a specific cause that you want to support. Do give that number a call, and then we'll sort you out.
Okay,
through
one
that.
page.
Yeah, definitely.
Stay on it.
Yeah.
Are you done?
Well, I think the last piece that I wanted to bring up, continuing, because this is maybe a more personal thing for me, is the struggle with imperial metals. That continues to be an ongoing issue, is mining in so-called BC as well. So definitely for folks that are interested, do keep on top of news around imperial metals. It's been 2 years, over 2 years, they haven't been held to account for the disastrous Mount Poly spill. And so that's a continuing site of resistance as well for the Secwepemc Nation.
Okay. Here we go. So there is more to protesting and the struggle than camouflage. Thank you for joining us on Access Television.
The Community Action Project is alive and well and marching on in 2017. We have Yana Kalanzi speaking with Jean Swanson and Lama Mugabo about updates and things to look forward to.
Hi, you're watching Access Community Television. I'm Yana Kalanzi, and today I'm excited to be speaking with Jean Swanson, who is a community-based activist known for her work in the downtown east side, and Lama Mugabu, who is also a social housing advocate. Jean, Lama, welcome.
Thanks. Thank you.
For our viewers who are meeting you for the very first time, could you give us a bit of a background on your organization, the Carnegie Community Action Project, and what roles you each play within it?
Go ahead.
So we call it CAPS or CCAP, and I've been there for about 10 years as a volunteer, and we work on trying to get more and better housing and to stop gentrification and to give low-income people in the community a voice in what happens in their community. So a big part of that is trying to stop homelessness because homeless people have about half the life expectancy as other people, and we know that it's way cheaper for governments to end homelessness than it is to keep people on the street.
And CCAP also plays a major role in the coalition called the Our Homes Can't Wait campaign, where we have identified 10 city land owned by the city. And we want the city to build social housing at 100% welfare and pension rate. So we've been mobilizing people and engaging different stakeholders to understand the urgency of this housing crisis and how it affects people in the downtown east side.
That's wonderful. What are some of your group's initiatives for the new year?
Well, every year we do a hotel and housing report where we look at the number of homeless people, what's happening to the rents in the SRO hotel rooms, and obviously they're always going up, which means that low-income people, people on welfare can't afford to pay the rents. So like this year, I think the average rent in the hotels is something like very close to $550. And so if you're getting $610 a month for welfare, it means you can't afford to live there. So that's one of the causes of homelessness. So we'll be releasing that report in March, and we're also, as Lama said, we're working with the Our Homes Can't Wait campaign to try and get 10 sites of social housing, rent control, and 100% welfare pension rate building at 58 West Hastings.
Certainly, and I think a major part of this is rent control, because what we find is that without rent control, if I move out of an apartment, the rent is not tied to the unit, it's tied to me. So the next person that comes up, the rent goes up, and gradually people on low income are being forced onto the streets.
Recently, we've been seeing how neighborhoods such as East Hastings, Chinatown, and other parts of the downtown east side are increasingly becoming gentrified. Also, members within these communities are seeing their rents becoming increased. What does this mean for low-income residents who still wish to reside in these areas?
So gentrification is an interesting process. The city usually starts when the city allows developers to build really tall buildings, especially condo buildings, and then the value of the land goes up and the taxes go up and the rents go up in the hotels. And we've been documenting that every year. So when the rents go up, then the low-income people can't afford to live there anymore, and they have to either live on the street or move. And in Vancouver, with a vacancy rate of about 0.5%, there's no place for them to move. Plus, the stores in the neighborhood start catering to the people in the condos because they have more money. And the stores that low-income people used to shop at usually leave, or then the other stores become what we call zones of exclusion, where low-income people are followed around with security guards and cops, and they don't feel very comfortable.
So how can people get involved with the Carnegie Community Action Project?
Yes, they can check out our Facebook page. We're based at Carnegie Community Center, and we meet every Friday at 11:15. We definitely encourage people to join us because this housing crisis is a major problem, and we want everyone involved in this action.
Great. Thank you so much, Jean and Lama, for coming by to Access Television today. It's been a pleasure speaking to both of you, and I can't wait to see what will transpire from your group's accomplishments.
Thank you, Yana.
Great. Thanks.
Next, we have a story from Danielle Boudreau's journey against violence. We're going to see how the Edmonton Women's March unfolds.
My name is Danielle, and I'm an Aboriginal woman from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I want to explore and showcase a wave around the world, people who are working against violence and exploitation. I'm very humbled and grateful to have survived many, many challenges, from teen pregnancy to sexual abuse, drug addiction, prostitution, and the loss of 2 of my friends and my sister to murder. Rather than name my offenders, I choose to recognize and thank the many people who have helped women like myself escape from sexual exploitation and the violence that are incurred upon us. On February 14th, 2006, after the murder of 2 of my friends, I planned a memorial march for the missing and murdered women of Edmonton. This march was patterned after a similar one in Vancouver. 2 weeks later, on February 26th of 2006, my own sister was killed in an act of violence. I continued to promote the march for the last 5 years, and similar events have started in 8 other cities. My wish is to take the march worldwide to promote awareness of all women whose lives have been taken by violence. In January, I was honored by Women's Empowerment Canada as the most inspiring woman of the month.
My name is Kathy, and I became a spokeswoman for vulnerable people in 1994, the year after my daughter disappeared from the streets of Edmonton and was found decomposed in a field. She was a beautiful young woman who struggled with many challenges and did not deserve the death that she died. Volunteering has been part of my contribution to working against violence and exploitation. I've been part of John School programs for offenders, support groups for families of victims, and have participated in many awareness and memorial events. I've met some extraordinary people in my journey, and I believe we can make a difference.
You know, the Muslim Food Bank is doing a fundraiser dinner this month, so you can go to the muslimfoodbank.com to find out how you can contribute there. Every cent counts.
This is good. You know, Caveman Cafe, who voluntarily supplied our crew with food, they also make dinner for 150 people every month, and they take it down to Main and Hastings and feed people out of the goodness of their heart. Thank you, Bahram, for feeding us too. This has been a fun-filled hour on Access TV. Thank you for your attention. I'm Molly Caron.
This is IMTIAZ POPAT. Keep the love for February.
And send us story ideas, because we can handle the truth.
And at school and at university, we were in the era where we're trying to be rather cool about it. So we visited the real Chinatown restaurants in the alleys. And there are the green door, the orange door, and the gray door. And as a young person, we consider the whole rather too bourgeois for us. But as time goes on, there are a lot of meetings here because of the freeway and because of the formation of the Chinese Cultural Center. And a lot of things were actually done here, down below here. A lot of meetings involved. And as the time goes on, I was with a very large architectural planning firm, which one of my colleagues, Ray KWONG, is still with us here today. Well, the story I want to tell is that because there were so many people, they all want to have Chinese food, and not the majority of them are non-Chinese. So I would come down here by myself, and eventually they all want to come down at the same time because the food was good and it was cheap. And soon enough, I find myself having to get a Westphalia. And there were every noon hour, there would be about 6 or 7 people waiting to come down to have lunch. And shortly thereafter, I was hauled in by the senior partner and says, okay, you can go, but why you pick everybody else? You take about an hour and a half, 2 hours for lunch. Why don't you go to the restaurant across the street? I said, it isn't the same. And as we all know, it isn't the same. So as time goes on, when I have my very small office, I would take the staff out down here for lunch once a week at least. And they think I was being nice to them. It's because I like the food. So ever since the 1970s, I've been a regular patron, like most of you. And one day, you know, I came up with the same staff to one particular table down the ground floor. And one day they came without me and they got kicked out because it was supposed to be my table. The price of being not Chinese. They couldn't. So, and Cindy Chan Piper was there, and she would attest to that. So that's a little remembrance, and I'm just really pleased that Joanne and Sam came back. It was a real hardship for all of us when Ho-Ho was closed for a few years. So when it came back again, we all come back here. I have offered my little group of staff would go somewhere else for lunch. They all refused, and not all of them are Chinese. They all want to come back here. So I'm glad we are back here now. We hopefully that we can continue to come back for a long time.